Stop scrolling for the next 10 minutes, because what you're about to hear might be the most important video you watch all year, and I don't say that lightly. Welcome back to the channel where we take real, current research on aging and longevity and turn it into simple daily actions you can start using today, not someday today. I've spent more than 20 years working directly with older adults, watching the same quiet patterns repeat themselves again and again, small everyday habits that nobody warns you about, habits that slowly chip away at strength, memory, energy, and independence without a single alarm bell going off. And today we are going to name them one by one, and more importantly, we're going to fix them. Researchers who study healthy aging have consistently found that people who let go of just a handful of ordinary daily habits in their 60s, 70s, and even 80s experience dramatically slower physical decline, sharper thinking, and a quality of life that surprises even their own doctors. And here's the part that should give you real hope. Most of these people didn't start young. They started late, and it still worked. So before we begin, I want you to do one thing for me. Drop your age in the comments and tell me the one habit you're most proud of maintaining as you've gotten older. I read every comment, and this community genuinely grows stronger because of what you share. Now let's get into today's countdown. 7 everyday habits that quietly work against you as you age, counting down from 7 to the one at the very top that almost nobody talks about, and trust me, you'll want to stay until the end. Number 7. Eating in just 2 or 3 large meals a day. This sounds harmless because it's what most of us were raised on. 3 square meals, nothing more to think about. But your digestive system changes significantly as you move through your 60s and beyond. Stomach acid production naturally declines, digestive enzymes become less efficient, and your body's ability to absorb nutrients from one large meal drops noticeably. That means a big dinner plate isn't fueling you the way it did decades ago. It's often just sitting heavy and undigested. Nutrition researchers who study aging populations have found that older adults who shift toward 4 or 5 smaller, protein-rich meals spread evenly across the day tend to show meaningfully better nutrient absorption and lower markers of inflammation within just a few months. Think of your digestive system later in life like a smaller, more delicate engine. It still needs plenty of fuel, but that fuel works far better delivered in smaller, steadier amounts rather than in 2 enormous bursts. I think of a woman I worked with years ago, exhausted and bloated after nearly every meal, convinced something was seriously wrong internally. Her pattern turned out to be simple, almost no breakfast and one massive dinner, one of the toughest patterns for an aging body to process well. We restructured her day into smaller, steadier meals rich in protein and healthy fat, and within 2 months she described feeling like she'd gained a decade back. The practical takeaway is simple: aim to eat something every 3 to 4 hours, make sure each meal includes a solid source of protein, because as we age our muscles become less responsive to protein and actually need more of it, not less, to maintain themselves. Pair meals with a small amount of healthy fat like olive oil, nuts, or avocado, which helps your body absorb the fat-soluble vitamins your bones and immune system depend on. Number 6, taking long, hot showers every single day. I know this one might sting a little, but stay with me. As skin ages, it naturally produces less of its own protective oil. The outer skin barrier grows thinner and more delicate, and hot water strips away what little natural moisture remains far faster than it used to. Dermatology researchers have found that older adults who take frequent, extended hot showers report significantly higher rates of chronic dry, irritated skin, along with a weaker outer skin barrier that's supposed to help fight off minor infections. But here's what concerns me most, as someone who has spent years focused on healthy aging: hot water causes blood vessels to widen quickly, which can trigger a sudden dip in blood pressure. As we get older, our circulatory system becomes slower to correct for these sudden shifts, and that's part of why dizziness and bathroom falls remain such a common, under-discussed danger, especially since the bathroom is already statistically one of the riskiest rooms in the house for older adults. The fix here is refreshingly simple: turn the temperature down from hot to warm, keep showers under 8 or 9 minutes, apply a good moisturizer immediately afterward while still slightly damp, and if you're feeling adventurous, finish with 20 or 30 seconds of cooler water, a technique some researchers believe helps support healthy circulation and leaves people feeling noticeably more alert afterward. Number 5, avoiding strength or resistance exercise because of joint discomfort. This might be the most damaging myth I encounter in my work, and it quietly costs people years of independence. The logic feels intuitive. If your knees or hips ache, rest seems like the responsible choice. But the science tells a very different story. Muscles and joints work as a team, and when muscles weaken, joints actually absorb more stress, not less. Avoiding resistance training accelerates something researchers call age-related muscle loss, a gradual erosion of strength that, left unchecked, can strip away a significant share of a person's functional muscle over a couple of decades. That muscle is what keeps you steady on your feet, protects you from falls, supports a healthy metabolism, and helps keep bones strong. Multiple studies on older adults engaging in light, progressive strength training, even using nothing more than resistance bands or body weight, have shown meaningful improvements in strength, balance, and walking speed within just a matter of weeks, and in many cases, joint discomfort actually decreased rather than worsened. Researchers studying this consistently point to the same conclusion: frailty, not age itself, is often the real problem, and frailty responds remarkably well to consistent movement. I remember a gentleman who came to me convinced his body was simply falling apart. He'd stopped walking more than a block because his knees hurt so badly. We started him on gentle, seated resistance work using light bands, just 20 minutes twice a week. Within a few months, he was walking a mile most mornings and told me he hadn't felt that kind of freedom in 15 years. Start small, focus on the big muscle groups, thighs, glutes, back, and consider having a source of protein within 30 to 45 minutes after a session, since that window appears to be when aging muscles respond best to the nutrients that help rebuild them. Number 4. Relying completely on reading glasses while never training your eyes at all. Here's something most people are never told: vision, much like muscle, responds to consistent use and training. The tiny muscles inside the eye that adjust focus for near vision naturally weaken with age, a condition most people simply accept as an unavoidable part of getting older. But those muscles are still muscles, and some researchers have found that simple daily near and far focusing exercises, combined with a diet rich in the nutrients that support a health like leafy greens and colorful vegetables, can lead to measurable improvements in visual clarity and reading comfort within a matter of weeks. This won't replace your glasses, but it may slow the pace of decline and reduce how quickly your prescription changes. Beyond the eye itself, the brain's visual processing centers also slow with age, which is part of why distinguishing objects in dim lighting becomes harder over time, and why so many falls happen in poorly lit spaces. Simple daily eye exercises, good lighting throughout the home, and nutrients that support eye health are small, evidence-informed habits that rarely make it into a routine checkup. If this video has given you even one piece of information your own doctor never mentioned, that's exactly why this channel exists, and a quick like helps this reach more people who need to hear it, at no cost to you at all. Number 3. Sleeping far more than 8 or 9 hours a night, or leaning on sleep medication as a regular habit. This one surprises people because we're taught that more sleep is always better, and quality rest absolutely is essential. But the relationship between total sleep time and brain health as we age is far more layered than most of us realize. Researchers who've tracked large groups of older adults over many years have found that those who consistently slept well beyond 9 hours a night showed noticeably higher rates of later cognitive decline compared with those sleeping a more moderate 7 to 8 hours. This isn't because sleep itself is harmful. It's usually a sign that the sleep being gotten is fragmented and low quality rather than deep and restorative. Your brain relies on a natural overnight cleaning process that clears out cellular waste, and this process is most active during the deep sleep that happens earlier in the night. Spending 9 or 10 hours in bed often means extra hours of light, broken sleep that does little of this important clearing work. As for over-the-counter sleep aids, particularly older antihistamine-based options, researchers have raised real concerns about regular long-term use and its relationship to memory and cognitive changes over time, which is worth a conversation with your own doctor rather than reaching for the same bottle out of habit. I think of a woman who was sleeping 10 hours a night and still waking up exhausted every single day. She'd relied on a common over-the-counter sleep aid for years. We worked with her doctor to gradually reduce it, introduced a consistent 7-hour sleep window, added a calming bedtime routine, and adjusted her sleep environment. Within a few months, she told me the mental fog she'd been living with for years had genuinely started to lift. If sleep is a struggle for you, try keeping consistent sleep and wake times every day. Keep your bedroom cool and dark, step away from screens for the hour before bed, and talk to your doctor about gentler, non-habit forming options like a warm cup of chamomile tea instead of reaching automatically for medication. Number 2, drinking less water simply because you don't feel thirsty. This may be one of the most overlooked issues in healthy aging, precisely because it's invisible, you genuinely don't feel it happening. As we get older, the part of the brain that signals thirst becomes less sensitive, which means it's entirely possible to be quietly dehydrated while feeling completely fine. Researchers studying community-dwelling older adults have found that a striking share are mildly, chronically dehydrated without any awareness of it at all. Even mild, ongoing dehydration in older adults has been linked to a higher risk of urinary tract infections, which are themselves a surprisingly cause of sudden confusion and hospital visits in older populations, along with increased risk of kidney stones, constipation, and medications building up to unsafe concentrations in the bloodstream, since many medications rely on adequate hydration to be processed properly. Some researchers studying cognition have even found that mild dehydration, small enough that a person wouldn't notice it, can measurably slow memory, concentration, and reaction time in older adults. A reasonable daily target for most older adults is somewhere around 6 to 8 cups of fluid, spread steadily throughout the day rather than all at once. Keep a water bottle visible where you'll actually see it, aim to refill and finish it more than once by evening, and lean on naturally hydrating foods like cucumber, watermelon, and leafy greens to support your intake alongside plain water. And now, the one I promised you at the very start, the habit almost every older adult practices every single morning without a second thought, and one that almost no doctor ever brings up. That habit is sitting down within the first 30 minutes of waking up. I know that's not what you expected. Here's the science behind it, and it's genuinely fascinating. In the first 30 to 45 minutes after waking, your body naturally releases a surge of cortisol, a hormone that, in the right context, isn't the villain it's often made out to be. It's actually your body's built-in signal to prepare your heart, brain, and muscles for the day ahead. For older adults especially, this window appears to be one of the more powerful biological opportunities of the entire day. When you sit down immediately after waking, whether it's in a recliner with coffee, at the breakfast table, or on the couch in front of the news, you're essentially telling your body that the physical demands of the day are already finished before they've even started. Researchers who've studied activity patterns in older adults have found that those who remain sedentary during that first hour after waking tend to show higher rates of metabolic and cardiovascular concerns over time, independent of how active they are later in the day. That morning cortisol surge appears to help ease overnight joint stiffness and support healthy inflammation levels, but when the body stays still through that window, much of that natural benefit simply goes unused. Other research has found that light physical activity shortly after waking, even something as gentle as a slow walk or simple stretching, can support the body's ability to use protein effectively throughout the entire day in older adults, even when that morning movement is brief and easy. We're not talking about anything intense here, a 10-minute slow walk, some light stretching, a few gentle standing movements, just enough to wake the body the way it was naturally designed to be woken. I think often of a retired gentleman who had settled into the same routine for years: wake up, or coffee, sit in his recliner, watch the morning news for an hour. He described low energy, joint stiffness that lingered for the first couple of hours of every day, and a mental fog that didn't lift until early afternoon. We made exactly one change. For 3 weeks he committed to a 10-minute walk outside within 15 minutes of waking, before the coffee, before the chair, before the television. Then he was free to spend the rest of his morning however he liked. Within those 3 weeks, he called to say his morning stiffness had noticeably eased, his energy through the day had improved, and he genuinely felt like a light had been switched back on inside him. One small change, 10 minutes, 3 weeks. The added benefit here comes from natural light. Stepping outside or standing near a bright window during that morning movement appears to work together with your body's natural rhythms to support better mood, more stable energy, and healthier sleep that night. Morning movement paired with morning light is one of the simplest, lowest-cost habits in the entire field of healthy aging, and it remains one of the least talked about. Now, before you go, I want to bring this back to what actually matters here, because this was never really about statistics or hormones. It's about how you spend the years ahead of you. Whether the next decade is spent watching life happen from a chair, or whether you're genuinely present, capable, and engaged in every room you walk into. Over the years, I've watched people in their 80s reverse conditions they'd been told were simply permanent. I've watched people who could barely make it a parking lot become daily walkers within months. And I've watched people who'd started to fear their own memory regain real clarity and confidence. And almost every single time, the turning point wasn't a prescription or a procedure, it was simply better information, applied consistently day after day. You now have that information, 7 small, everyday shifts, none of which cost a thing, none of which require a prescription, and all of which you can begin today. Your body isn't working against you, it's simply responding to what it's given. Change what you give it, and you may be genuinely surprised by what it's still capable of. As always, please remember this video shares general research and isn't a substitute for medical advice tailored to your own health, so talk with your doctor before making any significant changes, especially around exercise, medication, or hydration if you have existing health conditions. If something here resonated with you today, share it with someone in your life who needs to hear it. And if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel. We publish new, research-informed videos every week for adults who refuse to accept that decline is simply inevitable, because it isn't. Take care of yourselves, and I'll see you in the next one.